In 1905, a British big game hunter named James Jonathan Harrison published a slim book about an 8-week journey into the rainforests of the Congo. He had gone in search of the Okapi, the rarest animal in Africa. He came out with 2 Okapi skins, a stack of photographs, and 6 living people of the Ituri forest, whom he carried back to England to be displayed. This is his account, in his own words. We read it today not to echo it, but to listen carefully to what it reveals about a remarkable forest people and about the men who came to watch them.
Harrison's little book is 2 things at once. It is a window onto the Mbuti, the forest hunter-gatherers of the Ituri, recording their camps, their crafts, their music, and their genius in the deep woods. And it is a mirror, reflecting the assumptions of an Edwardian Englishman who measured every human being against himself. He praises the Mbuti's skill and courage on one page, then writes of buying them with presents and parading them through London on the next. To read it honestly is to honor the people he described, while refusing the gaze that framed them as curiosities.
First, the journey itself, across 1,000 miles of river and forest to the edge of a world few outsiders had ever entered. Harrison opens with the land. The Congo Free State, he writes, was an enormous country reaching from the Nile to the west coast, very nearly one vast unbroken forest. Through its center, the mighty Congo River twists like a snake, gathering in great tributaries, the Kasai, the Ubangi, the Aruwimi, whose sources rise close to the Nile. The Aruwimi, joined by the Ituri, runs through the whole of the Stanley Forest. It was into this drowned, dripping interior, a swamp for 8 months of the year, that his caravan set out from Lado on the Nile. James Harrison was a wealthy English sportsman who had hunted across the Nile the year before. On the 29th of January, he set out from Lado with a young Scottish engineer named Brown, who spoke the local languages, and a cartoon man, Wabi Ahmed, who proved a perfect treasure. They drove 8 donkeys and a mule over more than 1,000 miles, racing the rains, marching 25 to 30 miles a day. Harrison rarely carried a rifle, only a camera and an umbrella, and that, he came to believe, was exactly what slowly won the forest people's trust. The animal that drew Harrison into the Ituri was the Okapi, a creature so rare and so newly known to science that a clear specimen was a prize beyond price. He had glimpsed a single Okapi the year before, near Ngwetra, before the rainy season drove him out. He never managed to shoot one himself. After a single day's hunting, he concluded it was an absolute impossibility for any white man to kill an Okapi in that bush. The 2 skins he carried home had both been taken with patient and astonishing skill by the Mbuti hunters who knew the forest as their own. At Irumu, Harrison persuaded an old chief to part with a Mbuti youth of 18 named Mongongu, who spoke Swahili and could interpret. Crossing the Ituri River in a rotten dugout canoe, the party made its first camp in Pygmy-Land. Visitors came, danced for an hour to a single drum, accepted gifts of cloth, salt, and beads, and by daylight everyone had melted back into the forest. Camp after camp repeated this. Only when Harrison wandered unarmed among them, carrying nothing but a camera and a walking stick, did a band finally keep its word and come to hunt. Once trusted, Harrison was led to the hidden camps, and he recorded a way of life perfectly tuned to the great forest. Their settlements, Harrison admitted, could hardly be called villages, just 10 or 12 leafed-in arbours, each about 7 feet across and 4 feet high. To build one, the Mbuti stuck a score of supple branches into the ground, bent them over, lashed them at the crown, encircled them with creepers,
and thatched the whole with great plantain leaves. 8 or 9 people shared each hut. A few clay pots and water gourds were their only furniture. They were a nomad people, and an appointed chief settled disputes and decided when and where the camp should next move on. The men wore a strip of tanned skin on a single cord, finished with one large glass bead. The women renewed their costume each morning by gathering 2 fresh bunches of green leaves. Though their hair grew short and tightly curled, they lavished time upon it, cutting patterns across the scalp, shaving one half away, carving narrow lanes, or twisting it into peaks plaited with squirrel fur and feathers. Copper and brass wire, colored beads, and cowrie shells were all treasured for ornament. Harrison marveled at the sheer variety of faces and forms he saw among them, no 2 alike. For all the simplicity of their shelters, the Mbuti were metal workers. They gathered ironstone, dug a pit for the fire, and smelted the ore with a primitive bellows, a roughly tanned skin tied to a hollow bamboo cane thrust beneath the coals. From the iron, they forged spears, knives, and arrows of many well-made types. What astonished Harrison most was that every tool was shaped using nothing but differently formed stones. A people with no written word and the barest of possessions carried in their own hands a complete chain of craft, from raw ore in the ground to a finished blade. A hunt began at daybreak, with shrill whistles and snatches of song drifting through the fog. As many as 140 men and boys would muster, armed with spears, bows, and arrows, some leading bell-collared dogs. Strung in a long line, they drove the forest before them. The instant game broke, a whistle sounded, and the hunters swept forward in a horseshoe to encircle and spear it. Young boys rushed boldly onto wild boar. Grown men ran in beneath elephants to drive a spear home from below, then tracked the wounded beast for hours until the poison did its work. When the meat was plentiful, the Mbuti danced, and Harrison, who had seen many African dances, judged theirs far the finest. On a swept and cleared ground, 2 elders squatted over a single drum. The dancers carried split bamboo clappers and wore jingling iron rattles at the ankle. A dancing master led, and one by one the whole camp fell into line, weaving and twisting like a snake, contorting, waving, singing wild choruses and pulling fierce faces. Yet every movement, even by the smallest child, was kept in perfect time. It was, he wrote, exceedingly well done. Harrison set down the customs as he understood them, often through 2 interpreters at once. A man bought his wife with spears and arrows, paid by installments, and only when the last arrow changed hands could he take her home. The birth of a boy brought great rejoicing. The Mbuti never stole from one another, yet delighted in raiding outside caravans. A sudden, unexplained death was blamed on a spirit they called Uda. They buried their dead, kept no idols, and as far as he could tell, worshipped nothing, a silent people who would sit for hours by their fires without a word. When the rains drew near, Harrison struck camp, and he did not go home alone. 6 people left the Ituri with him: Bokane, a chief of 35, Matuka, 28, Mafutiminga, 22, the young guide Mongongu, 18, Amuriape, a woman of 31, and Kwarke, a woman of 22, whom the party called the princess. Harrison gave up his own donkeys to carry them, lifting them on and off over rotten bridges, and reached Khartoum without losing a soul. He had won permission in Brussels to take them, on his word that they were volunteers, well treated, and certain to be returned. In England, they would be exhibited before paying crowds upon the music hall stage. Harrison ends in praise of Belgian rule, of the officers making a country, of a Congo he claims was safer than the streets of London. History tells another story. The Congo Free State was the private domain of King Leopold II, opened by Henry Morton Stanley and run by forced labor, hostage-taking, and mutilation, on a scale the world would soon name a crime against humanity. The Mbuti were no curiosities. They were master hunters, smiths, and musicians of one of the oldest forests on Earth. We keep Harrison's careful facts, and we discard his verdict. A traveler's notebook from 1905 cannot give us the Mbuti as they saw themselves, but read against the grain, it still carries their brilliance across more than a century. The leaf-built camps, the stone-forged spears, the hunts that humbled an English marksman, the dances kept in perfect time, and it carries 6 names out of the forest and into memory: Bokane, Matuka, Mafutiminga, Mongongu, Amariape, and Kwarke. The Ituri forest still stands, and so do the descendants of the people who knew it best. Africa Good Life remembers them. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.